So new unit, and this one starts with talking about a recursive formula. Didn't we get that over with? Could you get the door for us, sir? He's got it. Thank you very much. Well, it's either arithmetic or geometric. We knew that before. Or what's this? Shifted geometric. That's the new thing for today. Question, comment? Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. It seems like it's all like, what? Isn't that the same exact stuff? The new thing is just the shifted geometric. What does that mean? That means you multiply it and you add it. And we talked about them once, but you didn't have any on your test. So, like, here's a typical one that was just adding. U sub n is equal to U sub n minus 1 plus 6. And that just adds 6 each time, right? Isn't that pretty obvious? Pretty easy? Okay, what if I change it to 2 times that and then plus 6? That's the new kind for today, where you got to multiply and add. And we already did talk about that was possible. Well, there was never any test questions on it. You never reviewed on it. And now it's in a separate unit, this unit. And it's about loans and investments. That's what this unit we're on is about. And I like that because I want you to think about this. Do you get that almost every car in that parking lot out there had a loan for it? People borrowed the money to buy the car. Not everybody. Some people saved up all that money, but cars are expensive. Like, it's like $10,000 and kind of for a not amazing car, okay? Could be 20, 30, 40. Did you know the average car in the United States is $40,000? So it's hard to just save up the money for that. So do you get, a lot of times people have loans for that. All right, so we're going to be using these to model for loans and for investments. Right now the stock market has been going down a lot. Okay, and the stock market over time does this. It goes down, and then it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it goes up, and then over time, that still goes up, mostly, right? We're on one of those moments right now where we're heading down, and it's probably going to go down even further. But investments, if you just say, I want to take my $5,000 that I saved up from walking dogs over the last 2 years, and I want to get, does this look familiar? Does this look like something we did before? 4% interest on it. Okay, maybe you invested in stocks and maybe you get more than 4, maybe you get like 9% interest on it. Okay, well, that's kind of going to get mixed together. So we're going to do this exponential stuff that we already tested on and this stuff that we just barely talked about. And we are going to times by something, let's say times by 4, and then subtract something. Let's say subtract 7. And that's called a shifted geometric. Why geometric? Because of the times. If it's multiply, that's geometric. Why shifted? Because it got moved down 7. That's why it's called shifted geometric. Geometric's for this. That's why they call it shifted. Okay, so let's actually get into the slide deck that I've given you a little bit of a warning of what's coming. You remember these, right? JP, on this one, what did we start with? -7. And what did we do each time?
Go up by 2.
Yeah, and was that arithmetic or geometric?
Arithmetic.
Good. This one, Noah, is that one, starting at 40, going to shrink or grow based on this?
Grow.
Okay, so you're going to multiply, hint, multiply by a half. Doesn't that actually cut it in half? Okay, so I'll cut it in half, cut it in half, cut it in half. Is this geometric or is this arithmetic? Well, or multiplied. So do you remember the name for that? If we multiplied by something, that's geometric. All right, stay with me. I know you can handle this if you stay with me. All right, this is one where they multiply and subtract. That's called shifted geometric. I want to actually make sure you get what's happening. So let's everybody start with 15. And would you please, you can use a calculator if you want. You can use your iPad's calculator if you want. Take and multiply that by the 3 and then subtract the 10 and get the next term. And then just get 2 more terms for me. That'll prove to me you really get what's happening. You start with 15 and you do some stuff. Get the next couple terms. I'll pause while you give that a try. Then I take my calculator and I start with 15. And I go times by 3. And that gives me 45. And then subtract 10. And that gives me 35. Raise your hand if you had 35. Okay, good. Parker, what did you get for the next one? Times it by 3, subtract 10.
95.
Can anybody verify 95? Okay, cool. Notice this isn't just going up by something the same each time, you know? The difference there and the difference there, it's not just adding the same amount each time. It's geometric, so it's multiplying, and it's shifted, so it's adding or subtracting something. Shifting meaning like if you had the graph of it, you could picture it going up or down. All right, so if you got up this morning and took a morning supplement, that's like a vitamin, or have had a caffeine type drink, I did, I had coffee, your body is doing recursion this minute. Let's say you had a can of pop that has 25 grams of caffeine. Your kidneys will filter that caffeine through your bloodstream at a rate of 3% an hour. Not and, 3% an hour. That means that it's going to multiply it by 0.97. Do you get that that's dropping by 3%? Okay. All right. But what if you kept on drinking more pop? Do you get that happens? Well, then your body is going to have to, it filtered some out, but let's say you keep adding because you keep on taking a sip of your pop every now and then. Do you get how you might have a geometric with a shift because you kept on drinking more caffeine? That's where these come in. So up until this moment, because it was simple, we would have just said 0.97 because it goes down by 3%. I oftentimes would like to write those as 1 minus 0.03. You with me so far? And if you drink more caffeine, then you add another, let's say you have 1/5 of the can throughout the day, another fifth, you know, and then another fifth, you keep adding 5. And every hour you filter out some, but you keep adding some. That happens for a lot of people. Did you know the time of day when you're supposed to stop drinking caffeine? 2. If you stop at 2, your body will have enough time to filter that out so that when you get to bed, that you won't be like all messed up from the pop or the coffee that had the caffeine in it. If you're drinking pop or coffee after 2, you can fall asleep, but your sleep will not be of good quality. So I know that there's only some people I'm talking to here because some of you drink caffeine and some of you don't. But if you are drinking it after 2, you are hurting your sleep, and that's hurting a lot of different things. Okay. Now, if you're anything like me, you don't just have 1 can of pop a day, but 2 or 3 every single day. Not only are you losing the 3% each hour, you're also having some more pop on top of that. Now we'll have an arithmetic and a geometric happening. This is called shifted geometric. All right, so this is the part where I'd say if it's going to go down 3%, put a 0.97 here, please. And let's say that we add 10 milligrams of caffeine plus 10. There, shifted geometric. I already checked to see that you knew how to do this. You would just take the 25, times it by 0.97, and then add 10, and that would give you this. And then you just keep doing that. Isn't today pretty easy so far? Let's prove it. Grab your calculator or use your iPad, multiply the 25 by 0.97, add 10, put the answer down. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to compare these 3 answers here with the person next to you. Pausing for a second while they try this. All right, so starting the recording again. These are our numbers. You just take this, you times by this, you add that, and you do it again, and you keep doing it based on the previous one. That's what recursive means, based on the one before this. Okay, all right, so then they bring up the concept of long run value. Would you agree in the long run this is going to go down to 0? It's like your caffeine. If you drink some caffeine, it doesn't stay in your body forever. It slowly goes away. And eventually you don't have any left. Does that make sense? Why doesn't it go negative? Can you have negative caffeine? No, that doesn't make any sense. The lowest you can have an amount of caffeine in your body is 0. So that's what the long run of this is. Let's say that we are tracking your dog's weight, and it's going like this. Do you think your dog is actually going to explode at some point? No. So then what usually happens is it tails off. In the long run, let's say that the biggest your dog could realistically be is like 100 pounds. Eventually, your dog can't just keep growing forever. Like it'll explode. It'd just be ludicrous. Okay, so some things top off on the top where they get a limit on the top, like they can't get any bigger. And then there's some that are on the low side. And they just get lower and lower, but they like stop at a certain point. You remember the asymptotes? That's what these are like. Where the long run is, it stops at, and usually the answer is 0. Most things can go away until they're gone. But a lot of, like if it's how much, I don't know, I have 6 plants in here right now. One of them's almost dead. Well, then I'll be down to 5. Do you get if I give it long enough? It's probably going to lose another one, and then I'll be at 4. And if I give it long enough, some plant's going to get diseased, and then it'll down to 3. And you know what I mean? It's going to, but will it go negative? No. So there's a flattening out at a logical end point. That's called long run. All right. Take a look at this one. Can you see where it's going in the long run? If I put a dotted line, would you agree 60 is not where I should put that line? Because it went over that. So maybe 65, like right there. Would you agree 65 seems to be where the long run is on that one? Okay. That's called the long run value. Now, there's a way to actually calculate it, but this is what doctors are trying to do when they give you a dose of drugs every day. Why do they keep giving you the drugs? Because your body like uses them up. And then you got to put in more. Like if you've ever taken Advil or like aspirin for a headache, it doesn't just stay in you forever, right? So after a certain number of hours, you got to put more in. If you put in just the right amount, you will level off like this at a certain number, which is good for your body, like the right amount. And that's when they're telling you dosages on drugs, that's what they're trying to say. All right, so let's see if we can do this one. They want to take 16 every day. They're still burning off 3%. 3% burn off. No, wait. No. 25% burn off. Would you tell me, what's the first pill you would take? 16. U sub n is equal to U sub n minus 1. Everybody write this down, please. This isn't going to just come naturally. Write it down. We started with a 16 milligram or whatever that is, milliliter, dose. So that's why I knew this was 16. U sub n is always followed by U sub n minus 1. When they say 25% filtering out, please tell me you know it's not 0.95 here. What should I do if it's 25% filtering out? Not 0.95, what? 75. That's filtering out 25. That makes sense? You could think of it as 1 minus 0.25. That's the same as 0.75. Okay? And then, aren't I just going to keep taking 16 milliliter doses, though? Plus 16. Now, concentrate. Do you get what just happened there? We started with 16, and we keep taking 16, And in between, we're filtering out 25%, which goes like there as a 0.75. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Then, use your calculator, start with 16, filter out 25%, add another 16, and let's see what you get for u sub 1, and u sub 2, and u sub 3. So I'm using my calculator, I'm typing in 16 times 0.75, and then I add 16, and I'm at 28. But wait, Mr. Server, I thought you said the amount in our blood is supposed to stay the same. No, in the long run, it will. Went from 16 to 28, but now we're going to do it again. 28 times 0.75. Enter, and add 16. Kennedy, what'd you get for this next one?
I got 37.
You are correct. But looking at this picture, do you get when it hits about 65, it's going to like level off and it'll just keep on being 65? See it rising, 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 and then all of a sudden it levels off. That's what happens in the real world when you take drugs. Even like good drugs like pain meds, they wear off, but you keep adding more. Okay, enough. These are super simple. Don't overthink this. I want you to put A or G. That one's not an A. I just am giving you an example. Or SG, if it's shifted geometric. And then I for increasing or D for decreasing. So A, G, or SG is your first question. And then I or D. On this one, I'm going to come around and ask you to show me your results. Like the first one might be G. And D. I think it is. Anybody verify it was G and D? Cool. Now figure out what these are. Pausing. All right, so the first three of these were pretty easy, but then we got to this one, and the kid had something I didn't expect. I thought it was going to be increasing, but she said I put in 800, and I times it by 0.5, and that gives you 400, and then you add back 16, and it goes to 416. That's definitely lower than 800. So yeah, that one's going to decrease, at least at the beginning. Maybe eventually it'll level off. But. So this one was a shifted geometric and decreasing. This one was a arithmetic and increasing. This one was shifted geometric and increasing. And if you don't know for sure on the increase, just put the number in. 16 times a half is 8. 8 plus 16 is 24, and that's bigger than 16. It increased. Okay. So, I think we've talked about these things enough that I don't need to summarize that again. And test is Wednesday. No, it's not. So this shifted geometric thing was meant to be included in last unit, but we felt like it would be too hard to put on that test, and it would fit better in this unit about loans and investments. All right, so you just have a simple Schoology quiz. You know that I can see when you start them. You know I can't really expect you to finish it in class. So all I ask is that you start it and that you make some progress. Okay? So please find the Schoology quiz that's assigned for today. I want to do the first problem with you because I feel like that gets you into the assignment and more likely to actually go further. Mr. Tyler, could you read me the first question of the Schoology quiz?
Is the sequence arithmetic, geometric, or shifted geometric?
All right, and the probably starts with u sub 0 or u sub 1?
Yeah, actually, I misread that. You're supposed to figure out u sub 2, u sub 3, and u sub 4.
Oh, okay. U sub 2, u sub 3, u sub 4. My guess is they must have given you u sub 1.
Yeah, you get u sub 1, you get the equation, and then you also get whether the sequence is arithmetic, geometric,
All right, so tell me, what's use of 1?
25.
Thank you. And then what do they do to it here? Do they multiply or add or multiply and add?
Add
All right, so they add what?
8.
Add 8, okay. That is just simply an arithmetic. And U2 is as simple as it seems. That's the first one. So the second one would be 25 plus 8, 33. Add another 8, 41. So don't overthink these. They're not all complicated word problems that are shifted geometric. Some of them are just easy. Does that get us through the first question? Is that good enough?
Probably.
Okay. All right. Then this is the part where I would leave you to finish that Schoology quiz. And that's all I have for the video for today.